Welcome to the Focus 3 podcast with Tim and Brian Kight. This episode, number 38, we have a special treat for you. This podcast features a high school student, actually a recently graduated high school student by the name of Charlie Zimmerman. Charlie reached out to us back in 2016. He was a junior going into his junior year at Delaware Hayes High School in Delaware, Ohio. And Charlie had some struggles in cross country, the sport that he was competing in, had some self-doubt, had some injuries, and he was struggling. He got a hold of a copy of Urban Meyer's book, Above the Line, and began to read about E+R=O, event plus response equals outcome, and he began to apply it to his life. And he was looking for extra insight about how to manage his response to the challenges he was facing. And this is an exciting story because Charlie was very proactive about reaching out to us, very proactive about emailing us and asking for advice. And then he found out we were doing a series of R-Factor trainings at another high school district, another school district close to him. He attended all of those. And here's what's really cool. Charlie went to the leadership of his high school and he introduced to the superintendent and to the principal this whole discipline of the R-Factor. And eventually, his high school, because of his leadership and his influence, his high school adopted E+R=O. Charlie was very successful. His junior year, he began to get even more skill in his senior year, and Charlie was the salutatorian of his graduating class. And what I'm going to share with you in this podcast is Charlie's salutatorian speech at the graduation of Delaware Hayes High School, where he tells a brief story about the impact of E+R=O in his life. I give you Charlie Zimmerman.
As I stand before you today, I realize that I'm supposed to look like someone who has it all together or something. That is certainly not true, but I at least know now that I have the tools to succeed through the future, tools that I did not have any idea about 3 or 4 years ago. My name is Charlie Zimmerman, and I will be honored to speaking to you today. Before I get too into this, I would like to take a minute to thank everyone that got us, the rest of the 2018 class, here on this field today. To all the teachers, administrators, families, friends, and mentors. You have played such a huge role in getting us here on this field. I know that I would not be here without all of you, and I know many of us would say the same. 3 years ago, I felt completely lost. I was just starting my sophomore year, and every new obstacle seemed to get bigger. Feelings of self-doubt and anxiety began to grow every day, and I felt like there was no way that I would survive until graduation, a feeling that I know that many of us can relate to. I did not know what was missing from my life, but I knew that there was something. As failures began to pile up, I became more and more doubtful of my self-worth. All that I did that year felt lackluster. My relationships with my friends, my school performance, and cross-country running were unremarkable. I trudged through the next several months mentally checked out and dissatisfied with the quality of my life. When I felt most hopeless, however, a gift wrapped in simple white paper changed my perspective. Growing up an avid football fan in Ohio, I knew that Urban Meyer was the coach at Ohio State. Unbeknownst to me, reading his book, Above the Line, would transform Meyer from the coach of my favorite team to the person who introduced me to the set of principles that would change my life. Above the Line details the reconstruction of the Ohio State football team during its 2014 championship season. The team committed to an intense culture change and new principles from Focus 3 founder Tim Kight, who is actually, I understand, is with us this morning. Mr. Kight, will you stand? Oh. As I began to read this book, I realized that I was not reading about a football team. I was reading about my life. The fundamental message that Urban and Tim Kight introduced in their team culture was the equation E+R=O, which stands for event plus response equals outcome, something that many of you may have seen around the school in the last couple months. This equation, known as the R factor, asserts that no one can control the events that happen to them, only the quality of their response, their R. By responding in the most discipline-driven way, a person can influence the outcomes that they desire in a positive direction. Reading about this among other leadership principles ignited a fire within me. It became a guiding light to put me on the path to becoming better than the overwhelming fear of average that I felt at the time. For the rest of the year, I began to try to view every obstacle in front of me as just another E, just another event for me to respond to. Instead of worrying about every possible future moment, I focused on seizing the one in front of me. I dove into E+R O headfirst and learned all I could, working daily to apply it to my life. As I was trying to write this speech, I thought deeply about our class and the things we have gone through in the last 12 or 13 years. The one thing that kept coming up in every thought was how many obstacles, how many adverse events we have gone through together. There have been great moments, great successes, but also incredible hardships and failures along the way. But one thing that I am constantly impressed with is many of our R's, our responses to difficult events that we have gone through as a school and as a community. We did not have to do anything this year when Buckeye Valley lost students in a car crash, and we could have sat pat and not worried simply because the students were not from our school. But that's not what happened. We saw that a group of people in our community needed help and responded in a way that was powerful not just for us or the students and families at Buckeye Valley, but the whole Delaware community. Well, that's just one big example. Every day I spend at Delaware Hayes, I see countless examples of people working hard to get better, whether that be academically, athletically, musically, socially, artistically, or so much more. There are countless great responses that happen every day from us sitting on the field to get us sitting on this field, and that is a skill that I believe truly will translate to the future. One thing that I know for sure, class of 2018, is that life is not going to get any easier from here. Whether you like it or not, everyone sitting here will have E's that happen to them that seem impossible to overcome. If you only take one thing from my speech here today, I ask that it be this. The only way towards success and improvement is the management of the only thing you can, your response to the events that happen to you. I can honestly say that I would not be anywhere in my life without this mindset, without E+R=O. It took me a long time to figure it out, but it's completely turned my life around from where it was headed. Difficult events have happened, are happening, and are going to happen, but I am confident that we, the class of 2018, will be able to handle it. High school is over, real life begins now. Now let's go do the work. Thank you.
Wow, I hope you got as much out of that as I did. I've listened, well, one, I was there in person, obviously, for Charlie's presentation, and then I've listened to it multiple times, and it is so inspiring to see a young person with that kind of drive, that kind of discipline, that kind of desire to make himself better, to take a tool like this and use it in his life and to share it with his classmates, to share it with the administration and the teachers in his school. And you can sense and you can feel Charlie's deep commitment to the pursuit of best version of himself. So I really would encourage you to replay this podcast. Obviously, it was not long, and I think the things that Charlie said, he was clear, he was concise, and he was compelling. Like Charlie said, now go do the work.